Hello folks, Steve here again from the UK Preppers Guide. Now I'm out in the woods again, here for the weekend. It's just a one night overnighter, but every time I do come out in the woods I try to practice a skill or learn a new skill. And today what I've decided to do is to have a bit of practice at making animal traps, because food procurement is absolutely essential in any survival, bug out, shit hit the fan situation. The particular trap I'm going to be practicing today is the one I'm going to show you, and it's called the Windless Animal Trap. Now firstly, I'm just having a little look around these woods and trying to find any signs of animal movement where they're getting from their burrow to their food source. Now the animal will take the path of least resistance, so they're normally fairly easy to spot because they'll use this route time and time again, and it gives us a good sign. And in this case it's running through this area here, this little bit of woodland. So to set up a windlass trap I'm going to be looking for two saplings about 2 to 3 foot apart that I'm going to be able to use, that are close to that animal pathway. Now along the trail here there's a couple of saplings that are growing. They're about 18 inches apart. The only problem I've got is they're growing up about 45 degrees and they're trying to sniff out the sunshine and the daylight, and they're in competition with all the other saplings here, so I don't think they're really going to do. There's not a great deal of other saplings I can use, so what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to make my own couple of posts that will form the spring mechanism for the windlass trap. So I've come to this opening, it's a little bit more clearer for you to see what I'm doing, and I've made up two posts here and just put a point on each end. But what we're going to do is we're going to drive these into the ground a fair way down and about a foot apart, and that's going to be our equivalent to the saplings that we couldn't use. Right, so they're about nearly 18 inches apart. The problem with doing this, of course, is that we want these two posts to act as a spring mechanism, and I don't want them pulling out from the bottom, so I'm going to need to put a brace across here, and that's the next bit that we add. So that's got the two posts firmly in place and it's stopping the bottom moving. If it was between two saplings, obviously we wouldn't need to do this because the roots are holding it solid in the ground and the top parts are going to flex. This way, if you're punching stakes into the ground, there's a good chance they'll move. So that's why we need this bracing piece. So next thing is we've got to set up the baton that's going to dispatch the animal, and we want this to hit the animal on the neck or head so that it's an instant kill. It's called blunt force trauma when it whacks them on the head. So once you've got your baton prepared, just loop a piece of paracord over the posts and just take it round. Now I'm using blue paracord here because it'll actually contrast better and you'll see it better against this green. Normally you'd use either camoed or a green paracord, and you only go around a couple of times and it's just lightly. You don't need to do a really tight knot. Just take it round and just lock it up. That's what's needed. So that's fairly springy. Now I've marked this halfway, so it's going to be there. When you wind this up, you want to make sure that it's in the middle and what's going to be the trigger mechanism is at the right position. So it's going to be just here on the trigger, so I want this way round. So I'm going to put him in the middle, halfway, and then just go in the reverse way to where it's going to actually strike. And as you see, these posts are starting to flex in, and that's what's winding up this windlass and giving it its power. Next is to keep another stick handy, because that way then you can put this through there and you can get out of the way and let it go without the trap going off. This baton, when it's fully wound up and loaded, will come down with a lot of force. If you've got your hands, face, head in the way, it's going to really hurt. It will break bones very easy. So be aware, this is not a toy. This is a serious bit of kit that will dispatch an animal quickly. And this windlass mechanism comes down with so much force that if your fingers are in the way, it's going to hurt. So at the moment, we've just got it wound up into a position where we're going to be wanting to set the actual trigger mechanism there, because once that trigger mechanism goes, this will fly around and dispatch the animal. So at the moment I've just got it set up there, literally to enable me to position and make the trigger. So this is the trigger mechanism. You've got the piece that sits on the ground, and that's your bait stick, and then you've got your trigger stick that just sits in that groove there. The force will be down on it, holding it in position. As soon as the animal touches this, the trigger is going to go. Now what I've done is made sure there's no square edges, everything's rounded off, smooth everywhere, so nothing can stick. It's all very, very sort of slippery, and now all you've got to do is just balance that on the ground, which is actually the tricky part. So now is the time to set this windlass trap. This chamfered end is the end that's going to sit onto the trigger stick, so I'll put him through like this. That's the way I want it to go down. So to wind it up, you go the opposite direction, just making sure that it's not going to hit the bracing stick underneath. The posts are coming in, indicating it's now under a lot of tension. That's where your safety stick comes in. Put him there, so that's safe now, while you start to work on your trigger and bait stick. Just holding them in this position here. Now I want this to just sit on here and push down on itself. Right, that's taken a few attempts to get it into this position, but it's now set. What I'm going to do is just put this here. That's it. So that when it comes around, it'll give you an idea of how much force it's going to hit that with, as if there was an animal there. So if I disturb this now, the whole trap goes off. The bait is set a good hand span from the ground, because your rabbit wants to sort of look up and forcefully try to get it, rather than just nibble at it at the ground. So if I disturb this now, we'll see what happens. You saw how that hit that with a lot of force, enough to push it right away. That will dispatch an animal very quickly. It's just a great trap, really. And so I'm out here now today. I'm playing around with this, playing around with different sort of trigger mechanisms and everything. So when you're next out and you're doing a bit of field craft, try it, see what you think. Try different mechanisms, try different bait stick setups and everything, because there's loads. So there you have it, the Windlass Animal Trap. You can play around with these trigger mechanisms and everything for hours and hours, but while you're out here in the woods, it's a good skill to learn. and it's a good skill to have in your knowledge bank should something happen. So for now, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and take care, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.